Jen.
I'm here and I really mean it. Like I'm finally here with this book. So, and you've been my longest homie in my pursuits. And so I'm excited about our conversation today.
You are here and she is here. Is Unicorn
Yes.
Team, does she use she, her pronouns? What are her pronouns?
She does
Oh,
use she,
yes.
her pronouns. She does. Yes. Well, I would say she, her, they.
Yeah.
Her, they.
I
Yeah.
love it. I'm holding this amazing book in my hands. It feels so soft and velvety, and I got the early copy, but I just first want to celebrate that you have your author pants on, as our dear friend Nikki Elledge Brown would say.
Yes.
And I just feel that this conversation is a celebration of just your beautiful body of work. And so I just want to be in this sacred conversation with you about what it took to put a unicorn team book out into the world. And so, just to give people a little context, a little rewind, we had our podcast first podcast conversation on Lead with Love in 2018,
Stop it.
which is wild. I'm like, what? Almost 7 years.
Ah,
And
I didn't even know that.
yes. And you talked about love is leadership, which I think is so
Mhm.
beautiful because Unicorn Team is, what do we say? It's the 9 leadership types you need to launch your big ideas with speed and success. So I just think that's so beautiful. For so those who want to listen to that first conversation, I'll post the link in the show notes. But also, our friendship goes back a decade because I actually went into my emails and I looked. We were in a peer-based mastermind in, it was 2015, Jen.
Stop.
2015. We met in Sausalito, California with our children and our
Uh,
husbands and all the things. So just a decade of friendship. You are my current business coach, and it's just been such a delight to be able to have you in my corner personally and professionally so that we get to really dig in deep into your next creation right now.
Oh my gosh. And I think that says a lot about it makes me emotional. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we have to get like anniversary rings or something, 10 years together.
Yes.
And to me, that's really at the end of the day what this next era I think is for so many people is this remembering um like who are the unicorns in your life that have remained for the right reasons, right? And I
Mm.
really mean it when I say this. You are one of those. You're one of the few and the mighty, right? And it's not easy when you're navigating life and business and getting, frankly, faced with pressure, friction, and noise daily from various sources. And it just actually you naming those metrics, those love metrics that you just named. I'm like, that's so cool. So I'm even just as delighted as the listener right now. Like I knew that, but I didn't know the actual dates, timestamps, etc. So I just really appreciate that so much.
Mm, yes, and something I got to read your beautiful acknowledgement. This
Uh,
is one of my gifts, not one of my gifts, but one of my things that I do when I read books is I always go to the acknowledgments first. And so it took a unicorn team for you to put this book out into the world. It's not a solo job, and I'm just curious for you, how would you define when you're saying like having unicorn people in your corner, like what does that actually mean to you and also to the world that's going to get access to this body of
mm,
work?
mhm. Yeah, so if Jadah read the acknowledgments first, which I also do, whenever I read a book, and I want to say that I was actually really, really inspired by how Elrod's book, his acknowledgments were like 10 pages long. And when I read his book, The Miracle Mile or Miracle Morning, I was like, oh yes, like he has 10 pages acknowledging all the people who he wanted to make sure knew that they helped him write that book. I felt this, I was inspired by
Mm,
that. And so, and really it is what my book is about. Originally, the original tagline of the book was how to rally the right people around the next big idea that changes the world. And the publisher and we can get into publishing. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with you wherever we go with this. But they really wanted me to name it what it currently is, which it's accurate. But I really felt that the word rally, like rallying people around you,
Mhm.
and even when you don't believe that, will people rally around me? Will people
Mm,
support me? Am I safe to ask questions? Uh, I don't know. I'm nervous to be the dummy in the room. And but actually at the same time, I actually want to be the dummy in the room. And I always
yep.
felt like I was never treated like that. And I say that with this so much humility. Like there's so much, especially about writing a book, that I didn't know. There's so much I don't know. I'm still discovering as I'm even going through the process of marketing the book and selling the book. Like I'm uncovering new things every day. And so, you know, and how do you do that is back to your question around like how, the people and the processes, because unicorn is not just the people. It's actually like, what are the right tools? Where are the right watering holes where I will actually find out what I need?
Mm,
And, I grew up thinking, you know, nobody really cares what I'm up to. Like I know things and I want people to know them. But I always used to have this, and I still have it, frankly, this mindset thing that would say to me, like, nobody really cares about what you're up to. And it used to keep me from, and it still keeps me from asking for support, asking that question I don't understand. And that's what I've loved about writing this book is that I'm actually using what I teach in the book truly in the pursuit of finishing my next big idea, which was this book and
mm,
bringing it to life. And the humans, including you, which everybody who buys the book, you'll read. I like be like us. Go read the acknowledgments first. You'll see that I named Jadah as a big, like a huge unicorn influence and supporter along my long journey to get this dang book to market. Let me tell you, I feel like I really encountered more pressure, friction, noise, and challenges than I noticed even my friends, including Jadah, going through. And I wasn't jealous. I was like curious, like, why is this harder for me? And I started to realize that even so, I had really good friends. So that was true. Like when you read the acknowledgement, you'll see I had friends and homies who were like, this is awesome. You can do it. And they would share with me everything they knew. So I felt like I had a really good friend group in doing that. But when it came to like the publishing industry and the book marketing industry and the media, I felt like I was kissing a lot of donkeys. Like I was like, you know, thinking I had the right, let's say, lit agent, and I probably needed a different one. Not for like, I'm not here to throw people under the bus. I'm like, but you don't know until you're in it. That's my point. Like, you
yeah.
don't know until you pursue this dream or idea that you have, and you will kiss some donkeys and jackasses along the
Mm,
way. And so, in writing this book, assembling my own unicorn team around this book, I realized like, oh, where I knew I could count on, where I actually had a good unicorn stable was in my friend group. Where
mm,
I had a donkey stable was more in, frankly, my publishing pursuits. And where I had a unicorn stable was in my writing partners, like with AJ Harper and Alex Franzen, who both helped support me to get this book written, and a book that I would feel really proud of. And then when it came to marketing the book, a little bit of donkey action. And so it's so interesting to even be able to just use those
mm,
metaphors to go,
yeah.
oh, this is the standard for like when it comes to support from friends who are fellow authors. This is the kind of standard for the writing process. This is the kind of standard for, the publishing process, et cetera. So my point is like, to answer your question in very long form, is that I learned a lot about who the unicorns were in my life by writing
Mm,
this book. And
yeah.
so that's really powerful as it takes me into the next season.
I think that's an invitation for us to acknowledge who are the unicorns that are already in your life in this season and being able to acknowledge that, and you're able to do that in your book. And then I'm also hearing to identify or recognize when you might have some donkeys in your stable. And so I'm curious for you around that piece is what did you do to one, once you recognize like, uh-oh, I'm not playing with the unicorn right now, I'm playing with the donkey.
Mm.
How did you move through and kind of release the donkeys from your stable, like, and I think that's an invitation for us of how do we really release and let go of the donkeys in our life and do it, with love, respect, grace,
Yes,
integrity. I'm just
yes.
curious how you have navigated releasing the donkeys from your stable so they don't slow you down.
Yeah, well, again, my book, there's a model inside of the book called the Unicorn Innovation Model, and it has three tracks. The navigate track is about your idea. The motivate track is about finding the people who will help you get your idea into the world. And the communicate track is how to be in that dialogue and cadence, not just when it's exciting, but also when things are breaking down, when you're
Mm,
facing challenges, when you're feeling misunderstood, or perhaps someone on your team could be feeling the same way. And so the answer to that question is I looked at the I kind of used my communicate track, which is about like, was I clear up front,
mm,
in what I wanted? Was I also clear that the reason I wanted them on my unicorn team was because they had perhaps a specific skill set, a specific area of expertise. And am I actually saying to them, hey, this is why I hired you, or this is why I contracted you for this particular project. And I'm not seeing all of that. And I'm trying to understand, is there something that I didn't say? And because
mm,
there are these structures inside of that communicate track. One is called the broadcast, and the broadcast is where you outline your idea, like in a way that helps anybody who's jumping on the team, if you will, to read that first, to understand where you're going. And then the second tool in the book is called the stratagem, which is actually like the campaign brief, the thing that you then start to piece out the parts and the timing of when things will happen. And then there's a thing called prototyping, which is where people in your team have an opportunity to show you whether or not they interpreted what your vision and what your strategy was.
mm.
And so I actually do use the tools in my book to deal with breakdown. And there's actually also a chapter where I talk about when things do break down, like what are some of the challenges you'll face when you're pursuing your big ideas, and then what are some of the solutions that you can or some ideas for solutions that you might want to try on with people on your team to help you move through that breakdown.
Yeah, I love that. And there's something so beautiful about the tools in your book. Like I've been able to do some of them and many of them it's you can get it done in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Like I was looking at my notes from the unicorn innovation model of the navigate track, right? And you have the idea storming and then the do it analysis and the be it analysis. And I was like tracking, I'm like, oop, that took 10 minutes, that took 10 minutes, that took 10 minutes.
Good.
And really being able to identify what's worthy to bring to market, what's an idea worth rallying around. And I felt so much clarity in just doing those three exercises back to back of really seeing something rise to the surface and then also challenge it a bit. So I
Mhm.
feel like there's, like you said, the challenge, the friction, the noise. I feel the tools inside unicorn team really also eliminate the friction and the noise in your own head of
Yes.
all the possible ideas and strategies that you could execute. And it's just so powerful. Like I just want to kind of like break down one the do it analysis, right? You're talking about the drivers, the obstacles, the identity, and the triggers. And
Mm.
then in the be it analysis, you're talking about the budget, the energy, the integrations, the timing, and just bridging those concepts together back to back feels so holistic and integrated of thinking about the unicorn who might be leading the initiative, but then also looking at all of the players that are in that ecosystem too. I'm curious if you could just tell me a little bit about that process.
Well, I love that you're bringing that up because I like to think of the tools in the book, like these micro tools or micro frameworks, if you will, under the bigger innovation model, as exfoliating your brain a
Mm,
bit, like exfoliating your brain, because our brain takes on a lot of thoughts. We are pummeled from the outside world and then our own internal machinations that we do, right? Whenever we're faced with something new, our animal brain's first instinct is to resist it, or even if we're excited about it, to sometimes do it without thinking, which
mhm.
both sides of it could be dangerous in a way if you did. And that's why when I was putting this model together to really help explain it holistically, and thank you for
Yeah.
pointing out that you see how integrated it is, because that was my intentionality. My intentionality was not to leave anything out. I actually wanted to show the whole picture, but yet create these micro tools that at any point you could just go in and check yourself before you wreck yourself, kind of thing. um, so we talk about the idea storming. What I love about that part of the process is it gives you a place to just idea your freak flag out, like just throw it all down, like give yourself a moment. And Jadah, you're obviously like such an incredible vision doula. You are a person who helps people not just shape and see and imagine their vision, but you also help hold the space for their vision.
Mhm.
And so that vision includes tons of ideas. And so when you use my book to like put on a Pomodoro or go away for like a few hours and just throw down your ideas so that there's no filter, but just a way to kind of place them in one place to do a reflection. That's what the idea storming is really about. And it's also, as you said, to challenge your ideas a bit, to go, oh,
Mhm.
what if I was creating this problem is one of the questions I ask in that section. I say, like, what if this problem was something that I created, not something I wanted to fix? What would be my perspective on that? Because understanding that perspective will help you move through the next two parts, which, don't be afraid for those of you listening, because I call them an analysis. And they're really just those 8 things that Jadah named, where those are your 8 categories, whether it's the budget and the timing or the identity and the triggers, all the pieces there. Those are really your 8 questions, um, to do a quick reflection on, oh, is this worth going past go on? Because a lot
Mhm.
of times the reason that we're stuck is because we just don't know if it's worth pursuing. And I'm hoping to get you out of that gate a little bit faster, because part of the difference between people who are really successful at pursuing their vision, pursuing their dreams, whatever that looks like, it doesn't have, whatever size dream you have, it's the perfect size, um, they're stuck because they're questioning whether it's the right idea. So I hope that through that process, it's helping you question less and trust yourself more. The tools are here to support you, not to tell you what to do, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It helps you make the decisions based on your inputs rather than just kind of flying in the wind. Because, you know, I have a belief, and this is my own belief, but it's worked for me, is that structure actually creates freedom. And I'm actually the most unorganized person you will ever meet, which is weird, right? Because it doesn't sound like, oh, Jen, are you talking out of both sides of your mouth? No, actually, I can thrive in a bit of chaos. I always have. I've been able to do that, partly because I'm a Gen Xer and I used to have to walk to school myself when I was 4, but that's a whole nother story we could unpack on another day. But um, like, why these structures, these mental models, which I'm known for, right, Jadah? I'm really
Mhm.
known for these mental models and these frameworks. It's been my way to actually organize my
Yeah.
chaotic thoughts. So I created what I needed. And now I'm excited because I get to share it with more people through a book, which in the past, it was frankly I frankly quite expensive to work with me. And rightly so, it's worth every penny. And I wanted to move into this era of like, I didn't want to keep that stuff close to my vest. I didn't want my thinking to also be kept close to my vest. I wanted my thinking to be available to more
Mm,
people. And this thinking has helped me as an organized person who is frankly medically diagnosed ADHD as an adult. I was like, oh, yay, I'm so glad that's true. And someone who has a lot of things going on. I got 3 kids, I got 4 dogs, I got a husband, I got a whole life behind the business that I run that I knew that creating these models has really helped me organize my crazy intense thoughts. And so yeah, so that's how I use that navigate track to help me sort through my
mm.
ideas because I have a million of them running, including right now as I'm talking to Jadah. I have a million running in my head,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, well, it was so helpful for me to see what was rising to the top because I
Mm,
have ideas and planning and all of this, but it just the questions are so simple, but also so potent where it just
mm,
gives you the clarity. Is this green light go, or do we need to like keep this in the stable and like wait, for another moment? And I think that's something really beautiful. And for you, you're saying that this book is an innovation playbook. Can you
mm.
just expand on that a little bit of what that means to you?
Oh gosh, I love this question. And I wanna honor that Jadah was also an early reader. She mentioned that at the top of this call, at this podcast. And one of her comments really sticks with me to explain why I named it an innovation playbook because Jadah said, I really liked this line. I'm paraphrasing her. She said something like, I really like this line, innovation is innately human. Innovation is innately human. And what I mean by that is we are living in a world now, right? All of us, where um, we're surrounded is probably the better word. We're surrounded by the triple A threat, AI, automation, and the algorithms. And those are things we can't control. Those are things that are happening whether we like it or not. And actually, I'm a big fan of creating productivity and making the machines, if you will, work for us. So I'm big and happy about that. But those things are not innovative. Humans innovated AI, automation, and the algorithms. Humans did
Mm,
that. So for me, innovation is a synonym for creativity because only humans can be creative. And in order for us to shape the world that we want to live in, that we want our children and our children's children to live in, and we know we're living in a world where our children are worried about the future. They are full of emotional and mental distress. They are not given the same, I mean, even opportunities for resilience that even people who are millennials and older have been given. And so, and Jada is so good at that. She's just so amazing at creating those spaces for all generations. I bring it up because if we don't show that humans are extremely, if not the most relevant resource for us to be reinvesting in, we're going to miss out. We're going to disappoint ourselves, is my point. And so we are innovative by nature. We were born innovative. We were born solving problems. We were born creatively figuring things out. We were born to create things. If you're an entrepreneur, which I know you probably are since you're listening to this particular podcast, at the end of the day, you're in existence because we need us, people like us, to solve the world's problems. We do that, whether it's making sure that coffee stays warmer on our desk or actually, fixing poverty, whatever it is, everything in between is something that humans do. The machines cannot do those things. It can come up with some options, but we are the inputs to the machines, not vice versa. So that's why I called it an innovation playbook because I want people to start thinking of themselves or reminding or remembering that actually
mm,
you are naturally innovative, but we've now relegated even innovation to like technology only or software or social media platforms, or, and I'm like, no, actually the greatest innovation are human beings. And that's actually where, frankly, the money is now. That's
Mm.
where the contribution is now. Like, yeah, so you can go create the next great software system or platform, yes, and make money doing that. But really, what the world is craving is they're craving real. They're
Mm.
craving, belly to belly conversations. They're craving in person. They're craving travel and exploration and adventure. And the machines can't do that. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to get in a airplane that doesn't have a pilot ever. Like, just like, we live in the Bay Area, so there's all these like these autonomous,
Jaguar.
yeah, these Jaguar cars that are being driven by no one, like no one, by a robot, by no one. No one is driving these damn cars. And I'm sorry, but it makes no sense to me. And call me old and call me whatever. But I actually am one of those strategists that still works with high tech companies. So it's not that I'm against tech. I'm like, certain things we don't need help with. And certain things we need to retain our faculties around, our ability
Mm.
to pivot, our ability to be resilient. And the only things that can teach us that are other human beings. And so this book is for human beings who don't want to be donkeys or even workhorses anymore. They want to be unicorns, leaders, people who are helping shape the world in a different way. And so, yeah, that's why it's so important to me.
There's three words that come up for me as I digest this, which is one, you talked about innovation is creativity. So creativity, community,
Mm,
and care. Because I
mm,
think the
mm,
superpower behind Unicorn Team, it's team, right? There's no I in team. And so it's this beautiful, collaborative, connective tissue of being human and playing and rallying with other people. So I'd love for you to talk a bit more about that community, the collaboration, the creation, like the creationship. Like I want you to kind of expand on that kind of connective tissue of community and collaboration and creationship that you
mm.
have talked about.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I really believe is integration over separation. And in fact, separation, even if you follow Buddhist principles, if you're into any philosophers or even Stoicism, it's separation that makes us feel pain. Being separated from others, being separated from ourselves, you know, that's what creates a lot of pain and suffering. And when I was writing this book and talking about that piece of it and why innovation is actually what innovation needs, what creativity needs the most right now is us coming together, is
Mm.
finding these gathering places. I'm calling them watering holes, where other unicorns are hydrating themselves and hydrating other unicorns and sharing, these hydrated thoughts instead of all of this dehydrated scarcity thinking, and very what I call like autonomous or individualism only thinking, right? Um, there's a place for autonomy and individualism. We all want to feel that our own individual purpose is being lived while we're here. We do want to feel that. That's actually psychologically a desire for all of us. But in recent years, I would say probably especially like the past 20 years specifically, Jadah, right? We've become so hyper individualist because of social media. You know, you start to think that, oh my gosh, the only way that I'm actually going to thrive, even in business, is to become a content creator or somebody who entertains on platforms. And I'm not saying those aren't great things. If you're naturally strengthened and energized there, it's
Mm.
wonderful. And we want you to be that. But if you're not, and that's not who I am, for example, I am more energized when I'm gathering people in person, just like Jadah. I enjoy sharing my thoughts. Like how I think, how I see things. Other people are better at gathering people and feeling things. Like let's feel things first, and then let's go do things. And so for me, it's more about like this integration is the way. In fact, pure marketing and trust me, I'm a marketer, its job is to paint you in a corner, to think that like one thing, if you just have this one thing, or you're with these one types of people, that's going to get you what you want. Now, that's good marketing. And from a theoretic perspective, it's really smart. But where we're going is people are now going, is it just the one thing? They're questioning, they're curious. And guess what? They can research now. There are infinite ways for people to find out about you, about what you're up to, about what you believe in. And because of that, you actually have to really be thinking about how can I be more integrative? Because if you continue to be only individualistic, people are going to find that out too. They're going to find it
Mm.
out because it's available wildly, wildly. And again, as the world is becoming more automated, the true value is going to be with what I call the masters and the apprentices and the creators and the artists, right? Just like the Renaissance. We're in a new renaissance of going back to what's true, what's reliable, what we can bet on, what we can count on, and then who we can count on, right? It's like, first, I need to trust me and like really trust my ideas and trust my thoughts and my heart and my soul. And while I'm doing that, and while I'm questioning it, I know I need to find the others. And so I also feel like what we do a lot, especially the last 20 years, is like, again, we've been kind of like responding to listicles, like here are the top 10 things that you should do to have a great life, or here are the three things that if you just do this you will make $1 million, and la la la. And that stuff is just not innovative or interesting anymore. And anything that was prior to 2020 really changed the game. It exfoliated a lot of things. Anything before 2020, I would say right now at the time of this recording, it's not even like worth doing from a tactics perspective. What's really happening now is people want to be part of something. They want to be part of something bigger. They want to believe in something again. And sometimes people don't even care if it's their original idea. They want to get behind an idea and or a person that they feel will help them contribute to shaping the world. And so it's this is not a trend. This is actually what's always been true. And most of the world actually responds like this. If you live in the Western world, though, um, that's where autonomy and individualism has been put on a pedestal,
Mhm.
just like vision has been put on a pedestal. And my argument in the book, and when I say argument, not to be combative, more like I guess my premise in the book that I'm offering is vision, strategy, and doing all work together to make what you want happen. We have put visionaries on a pedestal where it's like, and been tell visionaries, just delegate everything you're not good at. Just, that's a listicle to me. Like anything you're not good at, delegate it. That's not always a good idea. Or even separating yourself from the team. As you said, there's no I in team. What's interesting is like we've kind of made it like that. It's like there's the you and then there's your team. Instead of actually
Mm.
you are an integral part of the team,
Yeah.
you are the reason the team thrives or doesn't. And us owning that is what is going to make us be seen as more of those innovative thinkers and creative, inspiring people to follow. And that's what my book is trying to help people understand. Like, don't separate yourself, even though people are hard. Like people are hard. We're harder than ever, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie. I love my kids, but books and dogs are much easier to deal with. Like, um, books don't talk back to you, and dogs always love you. And so we're, as human beings, we're dealing with a lot of pressure, friction, and noise. And so if we can just embrace that it's okay to see ourselves as the leaders of what we've got going on. And you don't have to have a big team or a lot of people, but you still have to show up and lead yourself. And that's how people are going to want to rally around you.
Mm. So you talk about, the team, and it could be lean or it could be big. And I'm
Mhm.
curious of what are the key ingredients for a unicorn team? And you're talking about leadership types. And so what makes that unicorn team?
Yeah. So
What or
here's the good news,
who?
friends. And I know I think mainly people who identify as women listen to Jada's podcast in general because of Jada's great book too, She Builds. Um, the good news is size doesn't matter, right? So um, the size of your team or the size of your vision don't matter. It's agnostic. My framework, my master model is agnostic in that way. So what I mean by that is it's really about energy. So let's talk about also a contrarian thought that's in my book. That is time, which we've all been taught is the most important thing, right? We're told we should be more productive. We're told, you know, like we need to like get back our time. And by the way, I agree with those things. But what I want to offer is that if you don't have the energy to actually lift your ideas, even if you have all the time in the world, that's telling you that either the idea isn't the idea you want, or you're not
Mm,
operating in what I call your highest unicorn energy, which is your unicorn leadership type that's in the book. So in the book, I talk about the 9 different unicorn leadership types, and they're based on the 3 energies: visionize, strategize, and mobilize. So you'll hear me talk about that a lot, VSM. And if you are a high visionizer or a high V, you're really inspired and energized by your ideas. You're an ideas person, you love it, you get energized from it. Remember, energy, not, oh, I have a million ideas. Everyone has a million ideas.
I
Be
love that
clear,
distinction. I love
okay?
that.
You know,
Yeah.
because every single one of us has a million ideas. But if you have a high V energy, that means that your ideas really turn you on. Like truly, like you
That's
feel,
me. That's
yes, girl,
me.
sacral energy all the way up for your ideas. Um, if you're a high S, so strategizer energy, that means that you are inspired and energized by results. Okay. And then if you are a high M or mobilizer energy, you are inspired and energized by accomplishment, by doing things. And doing things doesn't just mean like administrative or like drudgery kind of things that most V's and S's don't love. It actually means like being motivated by even demonstrating your work. So in my book, I talk about Martha Stewart being a high M. She's a high mobilizer energy leader. And what I mean by that is she built her entire brand and her entire business around demonstrating her take on homemaking, her take on how to make your bed properly, how to set a table properly, how to tend to your garden, right? She became this new um, person to look to for those kind of ideas. And so Martha Stewart is a high M. And so a lot of times in other books or other thought leadership will say, well, just delegate administrative stuff if you're a visionary. And I'm like, actually, what if you're just a leader who actually enjoys making things or doing things? And then you could go find people that will actually help you move those things out into the world. A lot of times people think, again, visionary is just like they're the founder, they're the ones who are like the most dynamic. They probably are, yes, but even a visionary, as currently defined, could be a high S or a high M instead of a V. That's
Hmm.
what I want to make clear, that my book is about what inspires and energizes you. Is it visionizing thinking or visionizing energy? Is it strategizing energy or is it mobilizing energy? And so in my model, that makes them, there's 9 types, because you can be like a VV, a VS, or a VM. You can be an SS, an SV, or an SM, and then you can be an MM, an MS, or an MV. So like, because it's all about like, what is your leading energy to
Mm.
any of your ideas? And for me, I'm an SV, so I'm a strategizing visionizer. And what that means is like I am energized when I get to be the strategic mind on the vision that's in front of me, whether it's for me or for clients or even just my friends, as Jadah knows. Like I'm always going, ooh, I see I see the pathway, and I see 3 different pathways. And I can see all the parts of the pathway that get to the result that we want to get based on
Mm.
the vision that you have. And so when I'm though like, that's why when it comes to like facilitating vision, Jadah is way more adept at that than I am as a leader because she's turned on by vision. So facilitating vision and getting cozy with your vision and like pulling it out of you and then showing it back to you, she gets so jazzed by and excited with. And that is an important role for any founder. That's why I'm like, instead of calling yourself as a visionary, I'd rather you go, I'm a founder, I'm a leader, and this is my leadership type, versus just thinking you're a visionary, because that turns us into a pool of like ambiguity that then
Mhm.
also sets us up for failure because then we feel like, oh my gosh, I really actually like doing my Instagram reels. I'm really good at it, but everybody keeps telling me I need to delegate that. If that's you, me,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be good at Instagram reels. It's just something I'm never going to be good at, but it's because I'm not an M. I'm not an M. So if I want Instagram to be a platform to put my strategy and vision on, I need to go find somebody who is a highly skilled M who loves doing that. And that's the difference. That's that next level of depth that's in my book that I don't think other people talk about enough. Like this is the way
Mm.
to go so that you're staying in your energetic output so that even when you are, let's say you're pressed for time or you're faced with a life event or other pressure, friction, and noise, that doesn't shake you as hard because you're still in your energetic zone and that you're also becoming the leader that encourages your team, whoever they are, even if they're part-timers, or maybe they're your high school kid that helps you do videos, editing, whoever is on your team that you actually can use this book and these ideas in the book to help them see themselves and their strengths and their energetic output so that you can have a better dialogue when things are going well, but also especially when things are not going as well.
Yeah, and I love of like what do you get energized by and that you
Mm,
actually expand your capacity when you're working in and honoring your leadership type and strengths and then finding the people that can like complete you like Jerry Maguire, you complete
yes,
me.
yes.
So I'm curious for you. You have this beautiful, creative, innovative book. It's in your hands. And I'm curious what part of the creative writing process and bringing this book to life as your leading energy is strategy. Like, what has been the most fun, exciting part of this process for you?
Yeah,
Getting
so
book to market, right? Like idea to
yes.
market, getting this book, out and shared with speed and success.
Well, first of all, what I realized when we talked about earlier about the pressure, friction, and noise I faced like to get this book to market, because it took way longer than I wanted, like way longer, 5 years at least. 5 years ago, I was like, I'm going to write this book, and I thought it would get done in at least 2 or 3 years max. And it actually took 5. And it's mainly because, too, I was like, I didn't strategize because I didn't know better that part of it. So I just want to say that. But once I finally got the book deal and I got to writing, um, I started to also question, should I be like what all these other people say? Like they say you should write daily, you should do morning pages, you should like, again, just write without a plan, just write. And I wanted to be that. I was like, oh my gosh, I so want to be that kind of person because that means I'd be more creative, right? That would mean I would be in that stable of creative people.
Mm.
And I took a reflection because I was struggling, like getting the book out. Like I was just like trying that and it wasn't working for me. And I started to go, what would an SV do? Like, what would me as truly, like as a strategizing visionaries, what would I enjoy? What would make me produce my best work? What would make me like create the thing that I envisioned instead of like, I was listening to all those ideas and I found them all to be valid, but they didn't feel valid for me. And so I was like, I'm really good at intensely creating things. And it always happened. And as a high S, that's kind of one of our hallmarks is we can be intense around something we care about or like what we're working on. And I was like, I think I want to try to do this in a way that I would do for any other thing I would do, you know? And so for me as a high ass, it was like, I want to build this book in intense sprints. For me, that really works. And so I wrote the majority of this book in 15 days. Okay. Now, and I'm grateful because a lot of people tell me it is a really well written book. And I wrote the book mainly with a writing partner as an editor, Alex Franzen, who we both know is a dear friend to us too. Because I really want, and that was the other piece. I wanted to have somebody, if I was going to get a writing partner, I wanted somebody who I felt like wasn't writing for me, because I tried that.
Yep.
Jadah knows that. I tried that because people were like, just let somebody interview you and then
You tried
write
it a few
it. I
times.
tried it a few times. And I was like, and
You
spent a
kissed
lot
a
of
few
money.
donkeys.
I spent a lot of money. We're talking about at least $80,000 I burned learning what was not working for me. And I don't regret any of it because I will tell you now, I can just trust myself more. Like I was like, no,
Mm,
I actually think I need an editor, not a writer for me. I want to have a thought partner that once I finish some writing, I hand it off to a qualified unicorn who will, help me edit, but also say, hey, this part, I feel like you could have expanded more. You know what? It would be great to have a story here that would help explain this
mhm.
concept instead of somebody who was either trying to be my ghostwriter completely or whatever. And because of that, after my third ring in the rodeo of the writing part of the rodeo, I finally had a flow state because that's really what this book is about is like the ultimate goal is to be in what I call unicorn energy with the
Mm,
people you're working with. And this particular project of writing the book, I needed specific unicorns. And Alex Franzen and AJ Harper were those two unicorns for me. AJ helped me truly dig down to what was like the core contribution and message I wanted to make with this book. And once I got clear on that with her being a thought partner to me in that, then I could go to Alex and actually have a game plan that allowed her to know, hey, this is what I wanted to achieve with the book. And again, being an S, we like results, we like achievement. That's one of our motivations. So I was like, and I really wanted to write a book that I could offer self-reflection. That's where the
mm,
assessment piece came through. I wanted an opportunity, frankly, to capture data that so that every year that this book was used, which is ultimately my goal, was like, I don't want this just to be a bestseller on February 4th when it launches. I want it to be a perennial seller that where we can start to accumulate information and insights that we can even give back to our readers and say, oh gosh, like people who read this book or see themselves as innovating or creative, this is kind of like this is the kind of leadership type they are, and this is where they hang out. And I wanted to kind of be that. I want this book to serve many purposes, is my point. So as a strategizer and thinking through who I needed to help me do that, when I started just trusting that, Jadah, that's when I started to get into this flow state of then writing the book in 15 days. Cause I was like, oh, I know my shit. I know what I know.
mhm.
Um, I don't need somebody to tell me what I know. I need somebody to reflect and be a thought partner. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest piece that helped me get into that flow state faster.
Mm. You know what I love is that unicorn energy flow state. So often we talk about flow state from an individual
Mm,
perspective. And I just love how you keep bridging it. Like we don't do this alone, that we can
mm.
get in a flow state with fellow unicorns to really bring it alive. And everyone is operating in their leadership strength to bring it all together.
And if we're really being honest, that's how it's so easy to get disenchanted or dejected by the fact that the current platforms that we are told and are being socialized to feel like we need to be on. And again, I have nothing against it. I'm just saying that it looks like a very individualistic pursuit, right? It's like, because if you're even on your Instagram reels or whatever, it's you, right? Showing off something usually. And there's a lot of unicorn energy behind even producing one dang video on Instagram. And every brand that we care for or has helped our lives or we take for granted, frankly, has had a unicorn team behind it. It didn't just start, it started with usually one person who had an idea and wanted to make it happen. But I can't even think of one thing, not even with the advent of individualism on the platforms, any of them could ever say that they did it alone. There was some type of energetic exchange with other human
Mhm.
beings that happened. And some of that energetic exchange was donkey exchange. Okay. Because when you deal with donkeys and jackasses, you are also creating resilience. You are also creating a better rebound response. And there's value in that. And a lot of times we only talk about like, ooh, this is pretty and this is beautiful and this is like success. But it's actually kissing donkeys along the way actually created more success for you too. And we need to
Yeah.
acknowledge that and not be afraid of it. But it is nice to be in a safe stable too. So that's why
Mhm.
you got to go find the places where you feel safe to be completely yourself, to come undone, whatever that looks like in different parts of your life. And then as somebody who is a creative and an innovator that is creating things that people have to see on the marketing side of things and the selling side of things, that that internal team, that's why this book is about internal out. It's about inside out, and why I got so much pressure, friction, and noise in writing it, because the publishers, frankly, did not, they were like, why don't you just write a book on messaging and marketing? And like, these are the things that you're good at. And I'm like, actually, the reason I'm good at those things is because of what I'm saying in this book. And that's why it's so important first. And
Yeah.
frankly, I've worked with thousands of people, and it always is this first. It's always first you understanding that you are the first employee of your brand, your business, right? You are part of the staff. You are part of the team. And then you working on yourself and using the tools in the book will help you get better stuff out to the world. And I've never met a client where that hasn't been true first.
Yeah.
So
So I want to start to wrap. I have a few questions I want to ask, but before that, I know that you have a really special tool. One, I want how do people get access to Unicorn Team and have it in their own ears or hands? And then you also have a special tool that people can actually learn which leadership type that they are and where they get energized about their ideas and innovation and bringing it to market and rallying and changing the world and all of that. So I would love for you to just share what those, how can people get access?
yes, well, depending on when you're listening, hopefully you're listening when the book is coming out on February 4th, 2025 or earlier, because um, to go buy the book, you can find it anywhere. It's literally wherever books are sold. You know, if Amazon is the easiest thing for you, but we always like to help out our local bookstores because they're really important to the community. But also, it's on Audible. It's on my publisher, Penguin, and Hay House's sites. You can even like buy a membership there. There's all kinds of ways to get access. So do the thing that's the easiest for you. But the exciting thing is, as I mentioned, inside of the book, when I talk about the leadership types, there is an actual assessment that you take that tells you which leadership type you are and what percentage of leadership type you are. And then it spits out a 51-page custom report that is just yours, which is wild.
Mm,
So it's like you're getting like an extra book with the book. And in that report, you'll learn a lot, obviously, about you, but there's also an entire section in the report of how to use your report with people that you're working with or you're even
mm,
considering working with, whether it's in your business day to day or it's for a special project like writing a book, right? Or for a next season idea that has a very clear beginning and end. You could use it to like interview your next therapist or your next fitness trainer. Like that's what's really great about this report. So you do get it with the book when you pre-order the book. So you only have to buy one book to get the assessment, which is awesome. So you just buy the one book and you go to unicornteambook.com. And when you tell us that you purchased it on any of the places that I mentioned, we send you the Unicorn Leadership Type Assessment, or it's also called the ULTA for short, as a free gift while the book is in pre-order. And then after that, you know, it'll always be available. And if you have like a team, who you'd like to give it to or clients, there's also great opportunities to buy them in bulk for a discounted price and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I feel like this is really going to shift the conversation and the way that people play and create and put things out into the world. So I'm so excited that you have your author pants on
oh, they're
and
less tight. They're less tight.
your unicorn horn is shiny and bright. And with that perspective, now I'm curious, what does leading with love mean to you and how you put that into practice in this season of that unicorn team, unicorn energy?
Well, thank you for reminding me at the top of this podcast in 2018. Oh my goodness, when we first had this conversation. I really will go back to love is leadership, like you leading yourself, you owning your inner unicorn, like the rarest part of you, and sharing it in a way that helps the people who want to rally around you even come up more, will invite them to be leaders too. And right
Mm.
now, we need that. We need leadership so deeply in the world. And even if you don't see yourself as a leader, I hope that this conversation helps you try on that moniker, because to me, that's how we will share more love in the world if people show up as the leaders they are instead of delegating or relegating leadership to people or actors that we actually don't align with. So we need you to show up to help soften and neutralize all of that out in the world.
Yeah, I feel like it's like the unicorn leader in me sees the unicorn leader in you.
Yes.
And then this is my last question, and just because our decade of friendship, our collaboration, and over the years, and just knowing how much like heart, time, sweat, equity, energy, brave conversations, all the things that you've done to get to this place. I remember being in Florence, Italy when you and I were leading the big book deal retreat and you finding out like where your book home, publishing home was going to be. And so it's been just such a gift to witness your commitment and moving through the friction and noise. And I know that you poured all of your tools, ideas, resources into this book so other people could leverage it. So I have witnessed the friction that you face and the timelines that you have to play with. And so it's like anyone, if you feel like you are like moving up a boulder, up a hill, like this will create some ease and some sense of relief and just having that. But I'm curious for you, like, I'm a beautiful, like a vision holder. And
Yeah.
what's that like unsung song vision that I can hold for you and witness for you as you move into this season of putting this beautiful book out into the world that you would just like to just share your deepest wish and desire?
Mhm. Let me just breathe that in, breathe it out, because you know, I'm actually recording this from New York City, and I'm here on the trail of the Unicorn Team Book Trail, and I was in the theater district with my daughter earlier today, and she asked me the question. She's like, "What do you want, like the big impact for this book, or what's next for you?" And I said, being here reminds me of like when I was 9, I wanted to be Annie on Broadway. Like I wanted to be Annie on Broadway, and um, this book is like me achieving what 9-year-old Jen wanted, to be able to share my big song, if you will, with the world, like from a bigger stage or in a bigger way. And my vision is that people like will start that we as humans will start to recognize ourselves as leaders, innovators, and creatives that are necessary, and that they will hopefully even use some of the concepts that we've talked about today and inside of my book to facilitate that people won't go, oh, I'm just starting something up, I'm not a leader, or oh, I'm not innovative. That's for like big tech guys that are in the news. Or I want us to see each one of ourselves like that we are magic, we are miracles in action, that we have now a way to be integrated, not separated, that we can value creationship and collaboration without trading off our autonomy and freedom, and that we're having better conversations, juicier conversations, and that thinking doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like I actually think us thinking more is a good thing in addition to feeling more.
Mm.
And that I that's my big vision for how I want my work to be used in the world
Mm,
next.
I love it. I love it. And I'm just honored to witness and be that unicorn in your corner, and you be the unicorn in my corner. And as we wrap, is there anything left that you would like to share to close us up?
Mm, no, I feel so full and happy and just grateful, just grateful. Jada's not exaggerating. She's been my main unicorn this whole way through. And so I'm just grateful for you to have this conversation with me now, but more over all the conversations before it that got us to this place. So thank you, friend. Find more unicorns like Jadah, and work with people who are like that, because those are the people you really, really need in your corner when times aren't feeling as fun, but also to have a lot of fun with too.
Yes, hot tubs for
Ha- Yeah, baby.
days.
Yay. I'm trying to get Jadah to, do her podcast just from the hot tub. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
goal.
that's the vision, that's the
Yes.
goal. Thank you, thank you. I'm so excited for everyone to get a copy of Unicorn Team in their hands, to hold your song in their hands, and to also bring creativity and innovation to the world. I love you to pieces, Jen.
Thanks, sister. Same. I feel.